Hey, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of AngularAir. I am your host, Justin, and on today's episode, we are going to be learning about some tools for productivity in our development lifecycle. Should be pretty exciting, pretty awesome. Let's get into it. We'll say hi to our panelists, and then we'll meet our guests, and then we'll dive into the content as usual. Joining us today, we got Mike. Mike, what's going on?
Oh, nothing. Just hanging out. Ready to
Are
chat.
you attentive? Are you ready?
Yes, sir. Ready to work, sir.
Nice. Alyssa's with us. Alyssa, how's it going?
So excited.
Yes. Nice. Is that the excited dance?
Yeah.
All right. Nice. And our guest joining us today, we're super excited. Maria, how's it going?
Well, I'm also pretty excited. So here is my dance too.
Nice. Mike, we got to step our game up. I don't know. I don't really dance. My daughter dances, so I'll have her teach me some excited dance, I guess.
I did dance and you didn't see it?
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I'm the only one that's not dancing. Okay. That's fine.
I didn't know we were calling that a dance. Moving.
Yeah.
Body movement.
Body movement. There we go. All right. Maria, do you want to tell our viewers a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm Maria. I'm Maria Korneeva, front-end technology lead based in Germany. I did study languages and did some PhD in that, but then I decided that it's also everything is not precise enough. It's not like zero ones. It always depends. And I wanted to have something, stable, something where if you're right or wrong. So I moved on and I studied informatics again. And that's how I came to web development. That's my story in a nutshell.
Nice. That's a journey. That's a journey I haven't heard before. That's cool. Very cool.
Well, the problem is that it depends in web development too. So I'm back at where it started.
So true. Yeah, that's awesome. And what led you to web development specifically, like instead of maybe like native app development or some other development, right? Was there anything that drew you to web development?
It's a very good question. Actually, I wanted to become an IT project manager because I thought that this is something that I could do. And it's pretty stable. Like once you've learned it, you just keep going, you get better in it. You don't have to stay tuned because there's no new frameworks every single month. And well, I was driven by the type of my personality. I'm quite result driven. I need to see what's going on. Like one additional character and all your layout is gone, or all the boxes are left or right or whatever. So this is kind of very rewarding when you and in doing to my mind at least, doing web development means you see the results straight on, and your clients see the results too. So I've never experienced anything like oh my God, you've developed such a performant algorithm to sorts of stuff. The client doesn't value that much. Usually, it's the color of the button and that's the kind of discussion. Like, and this
that's
this
so
is
true.
what drives me. That's how I came to the web development through front end. That's why I'm not saying that backend is less interesting, but it's just how I got sucked into the whole story. And now I think the even worse would be security, because there you have to watch out every single minute. Front end and web development is okay. I mean, a new framework every month is still not as quick as any new bleaches and bugs. And
Yeah, totally makes sense. Yeah, I think that's the draw. Like for me, the draw with web development was that when you get into building something that people can use, that's something that they see right away, and you can get to them right away. And for me, my personality is like, I like the new and shiny, and I'm always drawn to that. So like I'm eager to throw that together and getting instant gratification. And the web allows you to build and get instant gratification because you can get it to people right away, which is cool.
And I don't have to go around to everybody's desk and install an application How do I install it? Do I have the right version? There's a lot less headaches with that. I mean, sure, you have to deal with caching, but that's minor, right?
Right. This is really exciting to hear your journey, because I think it starts to make sense of, like, I'm getting excited about the tooling, right? Because now your journey tells me that you've experienced all these different levels of the development life cycle. And so I'm sure you have, a lot of gems for us of how it can be more productive in that experience.
We'll see.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we want to dive into it? Cool.
Yep. So
All right.
I would like to share my screen. So I guess you need to do some magic for this to happen.
I do. I'm ready. I'm ready. So as soon as you share it, I'll push the button on my end, and everybody should see it, hopefully.
Perfect. Then you should be able to see it.
All right, here we go. Haha.
Yes. So before I dig deeper into the content, a small preface. I was presenting this at our company's board, because being a front-end technology lead, I had to provide some improvement steps, or to tell our board of directors where we're standing, what are the options. So that's why you see the logo of the company, and that's how the whole talk was motivated. And now I'm presenting it to the outer world. So first of all, the question why we would like to accelerate front-end or web development. I was focused on front-end, but I think many of the tools or approaches can be extended to the whole web development. Well, you probably know this proverb. That's about the gazelle that walks up in Africa, and the lion that walks up in Africa. So the gazelle knows that it has to outrun the fastest lion or it will be killed. And the lion knows that it has to be faster than the slowest gazelle or it will starve. Well, actually, it all boils down to no matter if you're a lion or a gazelle, if the sun comes up, you have to be running. That was like a starter for the whole story. So in my talk, in this whole topic, we're going to talk about companies that want to accelerate the web development, for example, to address early adopters, to be able to plan better, to minimize risks, or if they spare time, because they're faster, then they can do additional projects and just do more. And some companies need to accelerate it to survive. But actually, there are a lot of freelancers out there. So I guess many individuals would like to be faster too. And actually, all these reasons, they also apply to them. The same, if you're just slower than the competitors, you might get less projects, and then etc. So it's the talk is directed to both companies and the fellow developers. By the way, if you have any questions, just ask them right there, and we will maybe we will start the discussion at the slide, or maybe we will discuss some things at the end. So it's up to you. If you see anything. Yep.
I want to open up the chat as well. So if anybody's watching and you have a question, feel free to type it in chat, and we will happily relay those questions along.
Perfect.
The appropriate
Thank
ones,
you.
at least.
This isn't an AMA.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, right.
We'll filter at our own discretion.
There we go.
Hey, thank you. Because I cannot see the chat, so I'm relying on you. Thank you, guys. So, yeah. And what I've mentioned before, with this getting into the web development and having those frameworks, this is one of my favorite pictures. So sometimes you have to run just to keep up with the pace of the frameworks. So you have to be quick in development, but also in self-development and in improvement of the skills. let's move on. So what tools, methods, and frameworks and ideas I've brought with me? The first, I tried to structure the whole, like, of course, there's a bunch of stuff that makes us faster, but I tried to, to make a story out of it. So we will reduce the time to market, the moment when you get the project and the moment when you ship it and you maintain it. So how to reduce this time, how to be more productive in this sense, in a structured way. So I started with code, some tools, ideas that are closer to the code base, and then I will gonna move away from it to some more abstract, to high abstractions. So the first one is pretty straightforward. We need code formatters. Why do we need them? Because I guess we're humans, so it's easier to find our way through the structured code, to the code structured our way, by the way. So it's also something which we could configure and we should configure. And in the web development, we have HTML, and when the code is not structured and there is no linters, and I will mention it afterwards, it's harder to find, for example, closing tags. So this is some necessity which is quite web development specific in this respect. Even more necessary for web development. Is it? Do you have an opinion, or is it anything you would like to comment on? I don't know who said it.
I'm a big fan of formatters. I heard somebody that I was watching code the other day that formatters are all opinionated and never make any one person happy, but they make each individual person slightly less happy, but on an even level. So that people like different aspects of the format, because you can never get everybody to agree. But the one thing that most people will agree on, that consistency is important. So if things look consistent from one place to the next, even if you may prefer your curly brace on the next line or on the same line, you may have those individual preferences. At least it's consistent going from one file to the next. So I'm a fan of formatters for that reason.
Yeah,
as
absolutely
long as we
true.
use
I
my
think because
formatting.
okay. Well, I think it's, for me, it's as you said, it's the consistency. So for example, now we're having a problem in the current project that someone, and we have to figure out who is using a different formatter. So if the person changes just one sign in an HTML in the template, then the whole thing gets formatted in a different way, and then you cannot see the difference in the whole diff. Like the diffing is screwed just because the whole template was reformatted in a different way. So it's all about formatting the code the same way. But formatting in the first place, if you're a freelancer and working alone, then just do it your way. But in the second place, also formatting consistently.
And with
The
those
second
formatters, you have that opportunity to configure it like per project. So you can have the flexibility of defining whatever your formatting process should be for that particular project. And then even hook into things like, on commit and things like that, so that it auto formats for you, for everyone who uses it, which is cool. Yeah.
Yep. By the way, I didn't mention Prettier. This is my personal choice. Like all the frameworks and tools that I'm gonna name, this is just my personal preference. Don't consider it as a promotion, commercial, whatever. I'm not related to any of them. That's just what I've used, or I've been using, or I'm using right now. Exactly. And Prettier seems to be at least like the more or less standard. At least that's what I hear in 90% all the projects, at least. If they do any, then it's
If they do
more.
any.
Yeah, then it's Prettier.
I
The
have a question real quick. Well, before we move on, I have a question for everybody here. Do you have your formatting auto format on save, or are you manually running your auto formatter? For me, I tend to manually do it. So I'll just like I'll have like git commits hooks that do it, at the final stage. But when I'm working on files, I don't know why, but I like to have the control of manually running the formatting rather than like letting it do it on save, so I can kind of control other things. I don't know. What does everybody else do?
Interesting.
I format on save. I forget. And if I modify a file and I save it, cool. I'm on board with that.
No, I do it how Justin does it, but it's like, I think it's laziness because like I've always done it that way. I don't think I would be opposed to doing it on. I don't know.
So it had me thinking this whole idea of formatters, and I don't necessarily want to dwell on it, but I would love a solution where pre-commit it just formats to whatever you want, but whenever you open it up in your editor, it'll format it however based off of your personal styles, and then it'll just go back to a.
Isn't that what Justin said
repository.
he does? I thought that's what you said you do, Justin. No?
No. I'm talking just for
Kind
everybody.
of. I guess I
That-
just manually do it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That for source control, I mean, I don't even care for like HTML. Put it all in one line. I don't really care. But when you open it up in your editor, that it will make it look like you want.
For
But
you.
basically, all those formatting things shouldn't matter. It should be the content that matters in source control. It would be interesting to have like a remove all formatting prior to commit.
Maybe it would be even possible. I don't know. Because I'm gonna talk about Husky in a moment. So we could do something. We could hook into the pre-commit and pre-check out the post. I'm sorry, post checkout hook, and then maybe we could reformat it again.
I think you would have to still
let's
agree
discuss
though
it
on
once.
what no formatting looks like, right? Because like unless you're like just turning it into what the browser
if your editor
sees.
switches it to what you like, then it doesn't matter how it's being saved because it'll go in to the correct save format and it'll come out to your format. And
I'm just imagining like perusing someone's GitHub repo and seeing like all of these files and they're just like one string because there's
But
like
they'd all
no...
still the same. They'd all be formatted, right? What Mike's saying is
would...
just like a theme, right? You have I have a different color theme for my code. Somebody else has different, right? So the same concept that a user could have their own formatting theme, right? When they check out the work on the code, but the ultimate final check-in code would be the project's rules.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the viewing source control directly, not through your editor, would be a different thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Maria, what do you prefer? What do you roll with? Save
it's
on
also on
format
save.
on save or yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm just too lazy, I think. I'm just saving quite quickly. So, like you say, you prefer to do it manually. Whenever I want the file to be formatted, I just save it.
Save it. I think for me, to be honest, I think it's that going back to the fact that like I get excited about the new and shiny and flashy and things. And so I just like watching it format. And so I get excited, like the fact that I can hit a command and see it all so I could type it ugly and hit the button and see it format. And I'm like,
save is that command.
Every moment.
Save is that command.
That's funny.
But I auto save. Maybe that's it because I don't save.
Okay.
What kind of monster are you? You auto save. Move on. Oh.
That's because I have Git. Git protects me. So if I didn't want it, I can just roll back. All right. Sorry, I digress. Let's move on.
Somebody get Justin Elvis call.
Well. So the next point is still quite close to the code. It's static code analysis. And since we're doing with like Angular and TypeScript and JavaScript, we have to put some safeguards in place to run some static code analysis to make sure that the variable is not mistyped or, I don't know, the type is fitting. So we don't have this luxury of Java compiler in this sense. Of course, we do have compilers, but still we need to run some static code analysis. And in here, it's EsLint. I think it's also pretty standard. In my current project, we also use SonarQube, which is part of the CI/CD pipeline. I will come to this pipeline afterwards. But those are the tools that'll help you to figure out that something is going wrong before you deploy it and have to redeploy it and whatever. So in here, it's just fail fast. It's early recognition of some basic potential bugs. Then I think here's just an example. As you might have noticed, it's error message has been declared as something else. I think maybe an array, and here you try to make it string, so that's why the linter complains. And then the second part, it's just a typo. It should be maybe a local message, and it's quite hard to notice. So yeah, and just an example for this. The third one is it goes already into the direction of some tasks that we can outsource or we can automatize, and the tasks that are necessary to increase the performance. So it's we are talking about module bundlers, which are really like the BZBs, which nobody usually sees and recognizes. They just work like Webpack and Snowpack, whatever's trending now. So they are doing the jobs of minifying, bundling the code, and usually it's just we're just not aware of it. But it's something which helps you to not to think about all those tedious tasks. You just install it, and then you already get some bundled minified code. Here is an example where you see multiple scripts imported, and then you can. It's actually it was established out of the convenience for the web developers. Of course, we could write all of the code in one JavaScript file, but it's really hard to debug and maintain and structure. So of course, it's easier to create multiple files to structure it accordingly, and then the bundlers make out of it one single file and takes whatever it's needed, making some tree shaking, etc. So it's also something which helps us, which many people probably are not familiar of, helps us to develop in a way that it's comfortable for us instead of comfortable for the machines. Talking about some outsourcing and automatization, we are moving away from the code. Now the next step would be some task runners. For example, in one of the projects we were using Gulp, and on the build step, which maybe not the best one, it was maybe not the best solution, but we were creating all the pictures in different resolutions for the source set for the images with one of the tasks with Gulp, so that we had all the suitable performance relevant sources. I'm a huge fan of NPM scripts now because it's you have I think it's really almost political now to say whether it's better or not, but I have an impression that you have more options, you're more flexible with that, and it's more or less this, at least in the past 3 to 5 projects, that's what we were using, was NPM scripts. And now I'm coming to Husky. I don't know. I guess you're familiar with this framework, with this library. But in my rounds, like when I talk to my fellow developers, it's more like an underdog. I don't know. Should I just explain a bit what is it?
Yeah, for sure.
So I like Husky because it's a library that helps you to hook into the Git hooks. So we have checkout, for example, we have commit, and all the Git hooks that we have. We can hook into the hooks, hooking into the hooks, and run some scripts upon those. So we usually have something for post checkout. So whenever a branch is checked out, we can have something like npm install being run, or node modules being removed, or formatting being run if it's necessary. So that's why I was thinking, actually, if it would be possible to run the formatter over the code with the local configuration. I'm not sure that this is a good solution, but at least with this, you have the option to do something at the very beginning when you check out the branch automatically. You don't have to think about anything. It just happens. The same with pre-commit hooks. So there you can run your linters, you can run your tests. If you're having a mono repo, you have the option to run to test only the code that has been changed. You can actually to run any script that is necessary or relevant for this stage. That's why I'm a huge fan of Husky in combination with npm scripts by now.
Yeah. One of the big keys there is that with that Husky stuff and that implementation is we can put it into our code base, right, into our repo. So now every developer gets that run automatically for them. So we can ensure that their environment, wherever you pull it down, is going to be consistent with those rules that we want to run, right, or those scripts that we want to run, rather than each individual developer maybe having something configured different.
Yep. You can have the same parameters that you, like here is an example for some scripts. So you can set the same flags. So as you said, it's the same for all developers. And here are some hooks that you can use pre-push and pre-commit and post-checkout. Yes. So.
And we use that word
moving
consistency
further.
again.
Yep.
Just we use the word consistent again. That should be the main goal.
Absolutely. The same goes for the IDE plugin scripts. And here, for example, in VS Code, you have the option of recommended extensions, which could be part of your repository. So again, you can enforce the consistency through the code base, through the versioned list of the extensions that you can use, which is quite important. As I said, again, if, for example, if your team members use different libraries for importing, like for sort import, for import sort, then it might lead to some differences and unnecessary diffing where there is no difference. And it also supports you with some snippets, for example, the Angular language service that you can add to the VS Code. In IntelliJ, as far as I know, there's even a further going solution where which supports you if you change something in the TypeScript file, it automatically checks within the template and changes the name of the variable there too. So it's an extended support for the developer that allows to develop more quickly. The same goes for code snippets. So a team member could create some code snippets and share them with the team. So this accelerates the whole team because you don't have to reinvent it yourself, and because it's also harmonized across the whole project. The next level of abstraction is the frameworks. So we're talking about different front-end frameworks in this case, Angular, React, you name it, and also component libraries. For example, in my current project, we have a dedicated team that does nothing but creates components for us, which we can reuse. And this is quite convenient because we don't have to dig deeper into CSS properties. Now we can fully concentrate on the logic that we're writing. So it's more like plug in and plug and play. there are several component libraries that you can use to set up your project quickly without, and you have some beautifully looking results quite soon. So this is the next level of abstraction in this case. Even more abstract are the design patterns. And in here, I'm talking about using the best practices. Do not repeat yourself is quite well known. Solid is also quite a known architectural pattern. So for this, you can have a look at the Angular documentation for the best practices, for example, regarding the communication between the components or components and services, whatever. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel in the first place. But secondly, you when using these best practices, you develop for scalable solutions. So well, I think one of my favorite design patterns now is the bridge, which allows you to control to nest two components using content projection in an independent and scalable way. So it's well, in this case, you just don't hard code it. You don't tightly couple elements, but you develop in a way that the component stays independent and can be replaced. The next one goes even further, and actually the processes around the web development should be streamlined too. So you can do there a lot to accelerate the development itself. For example, the Jira is the tool that many developers use for like a ticketing system, basically. So you can install some plugins there, for example, for test automatization. We had an idea in the past project to install a plugin for behavior-driven design for the tests in the Jira system, so that our experts with the domain knowledge would write their tests. They can be imported into the code base and mapped to the implementation in Cypress, so that it will be directly triggered, and the results can be even transferred back to the Jira ticket, updating it with the results. So there is no unnecessary communication in this case. Basically, this is also some automatization. Alerting would be also one of the examples how you can speed up the whole process, because you're not pulling, you get the alerts pushed to you, so you can react upon them more quickly. So you don't have to wait for this ticket to be created, to go through several departments, and then you just and then only then you can act upon it. You'll be alerted at the moment when it happens. Here I'm talking about monitoring and logging monitoring. The next part is about decoupling some parts of web development. In this case, it's front-end and back-end. However, I'm not a fan of those two terms any longer. I'd prefer client-side logic, server-side logic. But in this case, it's all about decoupling those two. And if sometimes it might help to accelerate the development, because the front-end developers no longer have to wait for backend to complete or to fix this bug, or to or for the testers to provide the test users. And by decoupling it and providing some mock responses, or even a fake backend, front-end developers get more options how to develop and how to test for error handling, for example.
Do you
So
not
the
like
whole
those
development process? Yep.
Is there a story behind not liking those terms anymore? Was there some confusion on your team, or have you just because you said you don't prefer the front end versus back end terms anymore? So I don't know if there was a story there.
Well, it's kind of blurred. We've had several discussions where the front end starts and where the server ends, and backend ends. And what I realized with server-side rendering, I don't know if it's front end or back end. I mean, it's more about where the logic takes place, and not about even how close is it to HTML or CSS. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that was the kind of reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
Two things. One, I apologize. My machine said bye-bye. I'm going to crash right now, so I had to reboot. And then JSON Server. I don't think that gets as much love as it used to, or as it should. That is super helpful to essentially give you a backend server to be able to make API calls against with just a JSON file. You create a file, you could seed with data and everything else. It's really powerful for local development as well as for end-to-end testing. To be able to stand up.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Just two files, one for the server with, I don't know, I think you get it up and running in 15 lines of code, and then another file for the database, the JSON file that will be returned as a mock response. I really love it because you can also mock some error responses, and this saves time for testers. We had some cases where we had to test error handling, and it was not possible to tear down the server because it was serving to several teams and departments. So it was not an option. So we had to come up with some solution. JSON Server is the preferred one. And there are some other solutions. In this case, you can also write a script for some middleware layer that protects the backend from the outer world. In our case, it was APIC. And there was a script running there looking for for particular cookies. And our testers were able to set the cookies. The one was for the path to the server. So when the script noticed that there was a cookie with this path matched to some backend server, it was not propagating this request to the backend server itself, but it was returning the mock response, which was in the second cookie instead. So in this way, our testers were able to create the craziest scenarios for the craziest users when they needed to. We will come to end-to-end tests in the next step, but in case the testers, manual testers, manual testing is involved, that would be also a solution. The same goes with the proxy, so that you can configure some proxy which looks at the headers and returns some prepared mocked responses. But as I said, JSON Server is my preferred solution for this. Thank you for this comment. Then next, okay, here's the example of the JSON Server. As I said, it's quite straightforward and it's really easy to get up and running. So the next one is testing, and I think it's a no-brainer. There's a lot of potential in there, how to speed up the web development. And here, well, I mean, it depends on the culture, the corporate culture or the team culture or your mindset. Because of course, when you write tests, you're not implementing features. However, if you don't write tests, you might implement some bugs. And I had several cases when I noticed that there's more into to the logic when writing some unit tests for it. So unit tests go more into the direction it's a safeguard for the well, during implementation, more or less. And it helps you. It's a means of quality assurance. And in end-to-end, in case of end-to-end testing and regression testing, it's also that you can automate it, and there's no manual testing involved or less manual testing involved, which is usually slower, just because people can work 8 hours per day or more or less, and because there's always some communication delay in here. So besides serving as a safeguard, it's also a means of saving time and being faster. And here, I think in here I didn't mention any frameworks, but yeah, well, it's and for me it's just and Cypress for now. So, and now we are coming to CI/CD. And usually, if I think that could be the first thing that pops to your mind when you listen, you hear accelerating, automating web development. But actually, this is this kind of abstraction. So we had to go all these steps to come to CI/CD, because you have to automate further the steps before, so that you have a proper pipelines for continuous integration and delivery. And in here, you might use Jenkins. You have actually all the Git platforms, GitHub, GitLab. They all have some tools that support you to create your pipeline. In here, an example where you clean your code, you check out the branch, you install some stuff, you deal with the versions, you can lint your code, you test your code, you send it to the SonarQube for the static analysis, you build it and you publish it, or maybe in here you can already deploy it. So here's just an example. And for this pipeline to work, you have to prepare all those scripts and parts. Then we come to the logging part of the acceleration. And in here, it's about accelerating debugging, because of course there are bugs. There will be always bugs. And this is this is part of the software actually. So for the developers to develop faster, like some part of the process is always spent for some bug fixing, and to speed up bug fixing, it's easier when you log what happens, because I like to compare what happens in on the client side with some cakes. So if you're a company baking cakes, you send it to the user, and you can to your client, and you can make sure on your side that the recipe is okay and the ingredients are okay. However, you don't know what happens when the cake arrives at the customer side. What about the cooling chain? What about, I don't know, anything? So you basically don't know. That's why you need this logging organized in some way. You might use some frameworks. I think Sentry is the library that is quite popular right now. You can also use local storage, which won't help you as a developer, because the local storage is still the house of your customer with the spoiled cake. But it helps in terms of customer support, so at least you can have a look at what happened there. So this is kind of a edge case solution. But yes, logging helps you to understand what happened at the customer's house, and then you can fix it more quickly.
I love that analogy. Shipping
And
software
here,
is like shipping cake. It looks great going out the door. Everything looks perfect, but when the journey to the customer, when they use it, can, there's several things that come into play. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So, and now I have the last 2 points, and here's my question. What do you think? What are those 2 points?
Let's see. Don't get eaten and don't starve. It's just based on the
I like it.
here.
So those 2 points are actually people and practice. And in here, I mean, first of all, like from the company perspective, of course, you need to get right people, but also you need to develop them. They need to practice so that they are faster. But from the individual perspective, it's also your personality. So you can take you should look at your personality and take the strengths out of it. So maybe you can speed up the whole process because you're a good communicator. Maybe you are a good planner. Maybe you're just fast at typing code, like this 10-finger method, whatever. So you have to, it's a part of personality that that could support the whole process. And of course, practice. So I mean, he's this German saying, practice makes the master. So meaning that the more you practice, the more proficient you get. So it's a no-brainer, but it's important. And no matter what frameworks, tools, and methods you use, if you don't practice it, you won't get better with the time or faster. On this note, I'd like to summarize a bit what are the key principles, like through what principles help us to ship faster, to deliver faster. It's automatization, so we do less stuff. We outsource it to the machines. We accelerate it because we do faster. Like, of course, I could go through all the files and format it myself, but the machine or the script is doing it faster. I redo less when I invest in the quality assurance, and here I'm talking about tests and linters. I reinvent less if I use some frameworks and some, for example, or some component libraries. Here, well, this is the goal. I think the golden middle is the answer, because of course, if you use too many libraries, it's you have too many dependencies, and then you have a huge bundle size, and then you have all those performance issues, and then you have to invest time again to increase your performance. Then you need to implement some maintenance support so that you can fix earlier and faster. And this is alerting if the server in production is down. You have to know about it now and not when the 10th angry customer calls the line. And the logging as well, so that you know where to look and what happened. And of course, communication. This is the key to all the processes, and web development is also a process in a sense. So you wait less, and you get the right information from the beginning. On this notice, I want to underline that this whole term of 10x developer is, I don't know, actually, when I was sharing this presentation to my friend, who is not she's not into the IT industry, she's doing something else, and she was disgusted because she said, like, oh Maria, but you were telling me that all the IT world is actually so nice and fair, because either it works or not. You cannot lie about it. It's your code speaks for yourself. How why is it so why she didn't expect us IT guys and girls to be so performance driven. And then I had to think about too, because this 10x developer is something which is quite known in the community. But in here, I think it's not about writing. Every one of us can be a 10x developer, because we have to look at this from the whole, to have a holistic approach. Writing the code which does what it should, but it's also about organizing the whole process in an efficient way. So as I mentioned, it's also about our personalities. So someone can write the code faster, but needs more time to figure out the requirements. So the other person, in a different 10x developer, is way faster in figuring out what to do, and then needs a bit longer to implement it. So in the whole picture, coding itself is just part of it, and those tools help you to speed it up. However, every one of us should also remember that this is also our personality that we bring with us, and it also plays a huge role in the whole process. So that's actually my key message. Don't overstress yourself getting to this 10x developer status. You are already one, because you can use your personality too in the whole process, and you're speeding it up because you can, because you use your strengths. That's it.
I have a view on 10x developers that nobody can be a 10x developer unto themselves, but you can be a 10x developer by uplifting other people to make them more efficient, and by spreading knowledge to make everybody on the team as efficient as possible, by bringing up junior developers or mid-level developers to up their skill set. Then you're essentially 10x developer improvement of the team across the aggregation, whatever. Words were coming to my head. I'm a 10.
Yeah,
I can help be a 10x developer by development, not by speaking.
Yeah, but if you help others and others are getting better, then this is also, if you help 10 people to get better, then you are a 10x developer in this case too, because it's something that you supported and sent to the universe. So yeah, my key message was just to take out this whole performance-driven stress and this thing of I need to be faster. It's not only about the speed; it's also about personal strength, and it's not necessarily speed.
Yeah, and the other thing is that you're not. The one thing that I really, really liked is that you're not just delivering a message about be faster. It's be faster with quality, because a lot of times those two don't go hand in hand. People are like, oh, I got it done. Yeah, it may be working probably, but you didn't add tests. You didn't do these other pieces. You didn't check all the boxes of everything that needs to be done for software development. So to ensure quality with speed is, I think, the totality of the goal, not just the speed aspect, but also making sure that the quality comes along as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's that whole, how everything works all together, right? And understanding that from a business standpoint too, across the board, because of the fact that, like, if you introduce a bug, then you may have got that code out of production fast and been efficient. But by the time that comes back for you to fix it, it's not only the time you take to fix it, but now that impacts your ability to build the next thing, because that has to slow down because you have to make room for fixing the bug, right? So understanding that whole totality of it, helps us to not only, get to where we want to get to, but also to help convey when people are trying to measure us or measure developers or the team against one thing, to say, like, let's take all this into consideration, because it's not just, hey, they're underperforming because they're not shipping this fast enough. Let's do the whole equation. For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, we're at the top of the hour. Let's do some picks if our panelists have any picks, and then we'll just wrap it up and call it a day. Do you two have any picks? I'm looking down and the screen is down, so I don't
I know the Destiny DLC dropped. Been playing that and loving it. So fellow Destinyers, hit me up if you're online. Mike, I saw you logging in last night. I don't think it was for Destiny.
I don't have Destiny download. I was playing Halo, and my rank is a lot lower than what it was. I have gone from wherever I was that I'd rather not say, all the way down to unranked. They reset all the ranks.
Oh, that's funny. You'd rather not say because you're not proud of it, or because you're shameful of how far you've fallen?
Well, they reset everybody, so everybody went to unranked. So I'm not worried about where I am, but I don't want to either discourage myself or others. I'm just staying out of it.
All right. Well, do you have a pick, or is that your pick? Is Halo your pick? So Destiny 2 is Alyssa's pick, and is Halo your pick?
And it's not my pick. I was just commenting because I had logged on. I would say my pick was what I streamed about yesterday. Contribute to open source. It's not hard to, because people think it's a big time commitment to do that, but just going in to add a comment or even an emoji reaction on an issue, that's a contribution, in my opinion. Do something small to give back to the software that you're using.
All right.
Right.
Nice.
I
I like
think
that.
I can continue in here. Small steps. Like today, I was going by bike to some destination, and it was really windy, and I was going at the 10th of my speed. Speaking about acceleration, but I was still moving on, and I was so proud of myself that because I was still heading towards this destination, and I was not giving up, and I knew that by doing this, I'm still quite sure to achieve my goal. So the same with open source, just as correcting a typo or writing some tests, small steps in the right direction are still better than no steps in the right direction.
Agreed.
That's so valuable. Yeah, and so important. I appreciate that so much. Like for me, I always get lost. And I think it's a lot of times like I'm looking at, FOMO and social media and all these things, and I see people moving and doing these things, and I feel like I'm not going fast enough, right? Or I'm not making progress, or I'm not succeeding. And yeah, just that thought of like, even if you're doing a little bit or something, you are right moving forward, and that's powerful. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
For sure. All right, I have a pick. I'm gonna Minko tweeted out the other day this Responsively app. It's an application
yeah.
that you can. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So you can run it locally, and you can point it at a URL. It could be a remote URL, any URL, right? Basically, run in the browser, but basically it displays in one app the different screen sizes. So when we talk about doing our browser and changing the responsiveness and maybe looking at an iPhone or whatever mode or full screen mode, this app shows them all at once. And so as you refresh the code and the URL refreshes, and then you see all the screens together. So it makes working on responsive design and different screen sizes super productive.
You've said enough. Where's the link?
It's so slick too. If you check out their site on mobile, me and Justin were drooling over it yesterday. I was like, look at how smooth it is.
Yeah.
I wish to drool.
It's cool. It's cool. All right. Yeah, I'll throw it out there. So I'll retweet it
you.
and stuff. Yeah, it's cool. That's my pick. Awesome.
Cool.
All right. Hey, Maria, thank you so much for taking your time and coming on and sharing this knowledge and information with us. We really appreciate it. And your slides and your presentation were amazing. Like the slides were so great for consumption of that content and understanding it and visually looking at it. I loved it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
For sure. For sure. All right. That's a wrap, everyone. Have a good one. We'll see you next time. Later.